Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Abha Dubey, advisor, Sandipani Academy, Achhoti, Chhattisgarh, Raipur, India. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Professor Rishikesh Senapati, has joined us. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of entire team, the organizer. And I would like to inform you, everyone, that our Vice Chancellor, our Chief Guest, Namaskar, sir. Our Chief Guest will join us shortly. He is traveling somewhere and he is stuck with some technical problem. As he will join us, we'll start the session. Before this, I would like to give the program introduction. Atma paryen sarvatra samam pashyati yo arjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sa yogi parmo matah. यह एक देव वाणी है, श्री कृष्ण जी की वाणी है। इन्होंने भगवत गीता में कहा है कि वही परफेक्ट योगी है जो सभी को समान भाव से देखता है, जिसके में हर परिस्थिति में वह समान रहता है और समान भाव से देखता है, वही परफेक्ट योगी है। यहाँ योगी का यह अर्थ नहीं है कि जो योग करता हो, योगी का अर्थ यह है कि जो इक्विमिनिमस फीलिंग के साथ लोगों को, people को वो देखता है। The idea of equality is possessed by the perfect yogi. Here a yogi does not refer to someone who practices yoga, but someone who remains equanimous and still-minded even under extreme condition. Good morning and namaskar to everyone present here. Before commencing the program, I, Dr. Abha Dubey, advisor Sandipani Academy and Joint Secretary CESCO, would like to share with you the aim and brief program introduction of the international webinar on creating consciousness about gender sensitization, equity, not equality. I would like to share my experience with you all. Once I was having conversation with the two young minds. They shared with me the idea to organize this program as they have in their mind that there should have gender equity and respect for everyone in this society, as well as they informed me with the idea that children can easily share with their family without any guilt, hesitation, fear, and anguish about any kind of abuse they confronted at any moment of life, whether it happens in school, colleges, workplaces, anywhere, and parents can understand their feeling and help them in resolving the turmoil they face, thus secure their life and assist them to develop balanced personality. This laid the foundation to organize this webinar. These young minds are Mr. Dhawal and Mr. Ojas. They are college students. The aim of this conference is to develop gender consciousness among people, to develop in them the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes towards gender equity, to develop the feeling of respect towards gender, to develop awareness among parents to create an environment where child share their feelings, fear, anguish related to any kind of harassment and abuse, to promote critical awareness and understanding of the cause of gender discrimination at local, national, global level, to transform them as the informed, engaged, responsible, responsive, and good human beings. These are the main aims of our webinar, and we as belong to the education fraternity, this is our responsibility to create and to develop an environment where everyone feel safe, secure, and develop and growth according to their needs. We have will have amongst us Honorable K.L. Verma sir, Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh, as the chief guest of the webinar. Our eminent keynote speakers are Professor Rishikesh Senapati, former director, NCERT, New Delhi. He is among us. Mr. Tanmay Kumar Ghosh, Assistant Professor, Maharaj Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, Gujarat, and Dr. Tariq Ramadan, Emeritus Professor, Oxford University, UK. The program has been divided in 3 sessions. The first session is taken by Honorable Professor Hrishikesh Senapati, followed by question and answer. The second session starts with the keynote speech by Mr. Tanmay Kumar Ghosh, and the third session by Dr. Tariq Ramadan, and followed by question and answer, and queries, if any, can be taken by respective speaker of the session. At the end of the session, feedback link will be shared online on the live chat of YouTube. All the participants are requested to submit the form. Then only you will get the e-certificate. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Arun Kumar Dubey for welcome speech. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Namaskar to all. In present scenario, there is need for creating awareness among people about gender sensitization, for providing equal opportunities and unbiasedness for proper growth and development for the safety of the child and people of each gender, where they can feel safe, secure, and sound in terms of physical, social, emotional, spiritual arenas of life. With this aim, today, Chhattisgarh Educational, Social and Cultural Organization has organized this international webinar on creating consciousness about gender sensitization, equity, not equality, in collaboration with Columbia College Chhattisgarh and Sandipani Academy, Chhattisgarh. I, Dr. Arun Kumar Dubey, Principal, Columbia College, extends a warm welcome to all and everyone around the world in this international webinar. I warmly welcome today's chief guest, Honorable Dr. Kesilal Verma sir. He is Vice Chancellor of Pandit Ravi Shankar Srit University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh, India. But VC sir is on traveling. He is going northeast for their office work. He told me that he will join if he have network, and it is possible to he is join shortly with us. We are honored to have Professor Dr. Hrishikesh Senapati sir. He is former director of NCERT New Delhi. Mr. Tanmay Kumar Ghosh sir. He is assistant professor of Department of Law of Maharaja Sayajirao University of Barodara, and Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan sir, Emeritus Professor, Oxford University, UK, as our keynote speakers. I also greet our chairman of Jan Pragati Education Society, Mr. Kishore Jadwani sir, and Secretary, Mr. Harjit Singh Hura sir, Director of Sandipani Academy, Mr. Mahen Chaube sir, and Chairman of Chhattisgarh Educational, Social and Cultural Organization, Mr. Santosh Dubey sir, and all the principal, HODs, and faculty members of Columbia College and Sandipani Academy, along with our entire team. I must welcome and appreciate all the participants from every nook and corner of the India and abroad. I am proud to share with you all that we have received 1500 plus registrations, and they are from Jammu to Kanyakumari, covering all the states of India. And internationally, we got registration from United Kingdom, Kenya, Somaliland, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Philippines, Malaysia, Kuwait, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and USA. At the last, I again convey my sincere thanks to everyone who has been associated with us to make the program a grand success and to achieve the objective of the webinar. Thank you so much and welcome you all. I invite to my Secretary of Jan Pragati Education Society, Mr. Harjit Singh Hura sir, to speech or give some motivational speech to us. Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all in this inaugural session of international webinar on creating consciousness about gender sensitization, equity, not equality. I congratulate Dr. Arun Dubeji, Principal, Columbia College, and Dr. Abha Dubeji from Sandipani College, advisor, for selecting such a contemporary topic for today's webinar. It's very much required because everyone has to discuss and be aware about this very relevant topic of the society. I welcome Professor Satpathy sir, Mr. Ghosh, and Professor Tariq Ramadanji. I think the chief guest will be joining after a while, along with all the faculty members of the two host institutes, and might be many other institutes and various delegates, student, faculty members in this webinar from India and abroad. I'll take a couple of minutes to brief about our Columbia Group of Institution. We started, me and my partner, he was my batchmate in Sagar University when we were doing the Masters of Pharmacy in Sagar University. We started a small course of Diploma in Pharmacy in 2004, 18 years back. And then gradually we added many roses and feathers, like Bachelor of Pharmacy, Bachelor of Engineering, Master of Pharmacy, Master of Engineering, Diploma in Pharmacy, MBA, Bachelor in Education, Bachelor of Nursing, and now we have added a school also there, and now we have added various courses of Science and Commerce. We basically believe in making a good team of faculty members, because we think that faculty members are the backbone of any educational institute. So we make a very dedicated team to educate our students from every nook and corner of Chhattisgarh, and we are getting students from nearby states also. We have a research center also in our pharmacy, and in pharmacy we are doing excellent in our state, as our mission, vision, and dream is to make a small student from a small village to the top of the country, because we have seen in last 1 decade that a student coming after 12th in our institute and going to the best institutes like NIPERS in the country, like Mohali, Ahmedabad, Hyderabad, Kolkata, BHU, BITS Pilani, and they are doing very nice in industry, academics, and various fields. So we are happy with that, and it gives immense satisfaction to us that our students coming out of the school and reaching to a new height and performing well in the society. So that gives us very nice satisfaction. In our institute, in our research center, 10 PhDs have been completed right now, and we have a NBA accreditation for our pharmacy undergraduate course, and DST Feast sponsored program we have in our PG in pharmacy. So our aim is for the overall development of a student coming to us and being a good citizen and serving to the society. That is our purpose, that a student coming from village and developing as a good citizen and serving to the society. So we have various eminent speakers today. We'll listen to them in a few minutes, but I will like to add one small thing in this very relevant topic, that whenever and wherever men has given respect and support to women counterpart, progress and prosperity has followed. We have in our Indian tradition and culture, we do worship various goddesses like Ma Saraswati, Ma Lakshmi, Ma Durga. In today's world also, women are performing excellently in every field. Now, there is, I think, none of the field which is untouched by women, and they are commanding respect by their performance. I will not take much of your time, as we are here to listen to the eminent speakers from not only India, but from abroad also. So I would like to thank our eminent speakers and delegates and the faculty members for joining, and the team of Columbia College and Sandipani College for organizing this beautiful seminar. I wish this webinar a very success, and I thank for giving me this opportunity to express my views. Thank you so much.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Harjeet sir, for your kind words. I am Ojas Dubey, founder of the Universal Talks, and I would like to give a brief introduction about Professor Hrishikesh Senapati. Senapati sir is a professor of education and possesses over 30 years of experience in teaching, research, development, training, and extension in the area of school education and teacher education. He served as a former director of NCERT from 2015 to 2020 and successfully led the institution, guiding it in areas of pertaining to governance, administration, program, and policy formulation, budgeting, and implementation of teacher development programs. He played a significant role in providing relevant inputs for drafting the National Education Policy NEP 2020 of India. He also contributed significantly in the formulation of the teacher professional development titled National Initiative for School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement, NISTA, which covered more than 4.2 million teachers and school heads of primary and lower secondary levels. Moreover, he successfully led the rollout of Learning Outcome-Based National Achievement Survey 2017, in which 2.2 million students across the country participated and contributed in pedagogical reforms. His expertise on teacher education covers both pre-service and in-service teacher education programs. He has played crucial role in providing technical and academic support to central and state governments of school education and teacher education in designing policies, capacity building, developing learning materials and textbooks. He introduced art-integrated learning as cross-cutting pedagogy and throughout the country. During his tenure as director of NCERT, he facilitated international collaborations with USA, Finland, Australia, South Korea, Mauritius, Germany, Bhutan, Taiwan in field of teacher education, open, distance, and technology-mediated learning, curriculum development, educational research, and technology. And NCERT has signed many MOUs with many countries. Under his leadership, the NCERT, as academic authority as per the Right to Education 2009, brought out a guideline on continuous and comprehensive evaluation for the elementary stage in the year 2018. Prior to NCERT, he was principal of Regional Institute of Education, Bhopal, and led the development of teaching and learning methods, handbooks, training package, and laboratory manuals on various topics which would enable teachers in their profession and development. He has been visited to many countries for academic purpose, like Norway, China, Thailand, Switzerland, Malaysia, Japan, Nepal, Germany, Mauritius, Bhutan, Indonesia, Republic of Korea, Australia, Taiwan, and Finland. Now, I would like to invite Professor Rishikesh Senapati for his talk.
Thank you very much for your kind words. I'm really very happy to be a part of this program. This is a very good opportunity for me because we are going to discuss something on gender issues. This is very, very important in 21st century. We all know after independence, we have many commission, many committees, and 3 national policies. And all these put a lot of emphasis on this gender equity. This is not something new for us. And India is a huge country. India is a great country. And we all know we are proud of our culture, our tradition, our value system. After independence, just I would like to highlight, after independence, you might be knowing that there was a commission led by Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, University Education Commission. Then we have another commission, that is Mudaliar Commission in 52-53. Then Kothari Commission, the National Education Commission, 64-66. Then we had 3 national curriculum framework, for the first national policy in 68. Then we had national curriculum framework 75. After that, we had second national policy 86. Then we had the second national curriculum framework in 88. Then we had national curriculum framework in 2000, and then another is 2005. And now we have we are working on that national curriculum framework. But in the meantime, you say in 2020, we all know that the NEP 2020 was released on 29th July, and we are focusing a lot on this inclusive education, where we are talking about gender equality, not gender equity, not equality, because focus is more on equity now. And if you see the policy for the first time, we are putting emphasis on transgender. That is in 86 policy also not a focus was given to gender equality of sexes. It was one of the core element of NEP 2020. But now we are talking of gender equity and focus is on transgender. And when we are talking about gender, it is not that biological. Actually, it is a social construct, because we all know that then it is different from the biological concept of sex, and this is gender is socially constructed. And when we say gender is socially constructed, and we all are responsible for that, our family, our school, our textbook, our society, our media, and our film, and whatever we are preparing, all the activities what we are doing in the community, we all are responsible for that gender disparity. That is why, because it is socially constructed. And if we all are conscious, then definitely we can bring about a change, and we can achieve the goal of gender equity, because we all are responsible, because family is playing a very significant role when we're talking of gender, because it is socially constructed. It is not something biological. The concept of biological sex is something different, and the gender is something different. It is socially constructed. And when it is socially constructed, we have to take care of the agencies who are responsible for the social construction. And when we are talking of family, and in family, and when boys and girls are there, and how we treat, how we share our experiences with others, and how much importance we give to all our children, that is more important in 21st century, because we are living in a different world, and now a lot of change has taken place. So, and since we are moving towards advancement, that means we are going to become a developed country. Economically, we are very strong now, and but now the thing that how we can achieve this gender equity. That is a concern. And this NEP 2020 has put a lot of emphasis on this gender equality, particularly inclusive education, because gender we cannot see in isolation. It is something cross-cutting, and because it is dependent on other things, because since it is socially constructed, and our family, our school, and our community, our textbook, our teacher education program, all are responsible for this. If we can redefine our role and responsibility, definitely we can bring about change and we can achieve the goal. So that from that point of view, since it is cross-cutting, we have to see from a holistic perspective, not in gender in isolation. That is most important. And when it's a holistic, because that is why NEP 2020, which is putting a lot of emphasis on inclusive education, on gender equality, and recommended for creating a separate fund for this. And here, first, if you see the vision of this NEP 2020, you'll find that it is something unique. Because why I am putting emphasis on this vision of NEP 2020? Because in this vision, we are going to put a lot of emphasis on Indian ethos, and that is Indian culture, Indian tradition, Indian value system. And by doing that, what we can achieve? You might be thinking, why so much focus on Indian ethos and Indian culture, Indian tradition? Actually, we are trying to connect our children to their roots. That is the vision of the policy. We are trying to connect our children to their roots. They should know their roots. They should know their foundation, and they should know the culture, the Indian culture and Indian tradition. Why we are putting so much emphasis on Indian tradition? Because we believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We believe in Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. And if we can achieve, when we say whole world is one family and everybody should be happy, that in that case, that means the gender is coming within that, gender equality. So that is why from that point of view, if we can connect our children to their roots, if we can help them to understand our value system, our joint family system and our culture, and which is very inclusive, and we all the time we feel proud of our tradition and our culture. So that is why. And what in the vision, what they have mentioned, it has been mentioned that by putting emphasis on Indian ethos, by connecting our children to their roots, we can achieve a very equitable, vibrant knowledge society. We are talking about the policy, talking about equitable, vibrant knowledge society. And we can create a very equitable, vibrant knowledge society by connecting our children to their roots, by putting emphasis on Indian culture, Indian tradition, Indian value system. So that is the focus of this policy. That from that point of view, we should not see gender in isolation. We should see gender in a holistic perspective. That is number one. And number two, if you go through the vision of this policy is putting a lot of emphasis on promotion of fundamental duties, because we all are conscious of our rights. We fight for our rights. But policy is putting emphasis on development of and promotion of fundamental duties and responsibilities. That is most important. If we can make our children conscious of their rights and their duties and responsibilities, then they will not fight for the rights. If everybody is conscious of his or her responsibility, role and responsibilities and duties, then there will be no issue, there will be no problem, and we will not fight for rights, and automatically the gender, we can achieve the goal of gender equity. Because now time has come, we have to make our children conscious of their duties and responsibilities. That is most important. Fundamental rights are there. We are enjoying rights. We are privileged. We are getting all the opportunity. But at the same time, we should be conscious of our duties and responsibilities. That is there in the vision of the policy. If you go through the vision of the NEP 2020, that it has been mentioned, the promotion of the fundamental duties. That is most important. So that will really bring about a change in our society, and we can achieve the goal. That is the second one. The third one, that if you see the vision, the focus is not only on the development of our country or development of the citizen. That means it is putting a lot of emphasis on sustainable development, on fundamental rights and global citizenship. That is most important. Because it is not that we should think of our culture, our tradition only, but we should know what is happening around the world. what is happening in our neighboring countries, what is happening in other countries, and our children should know that, and they should feel for others. They should feel for that, because Delaware Commission, International Education Commission, that is the one pillar is the learning to live together. That is our root. We all the time from the beginning, from ancient time, we are putting focus learning to live together. That is why we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Whole world is one family. Our focus is on learning to live together. And now policy is talking about this global citizenship, because it is not by preparing our children good citizen, we cannot achieve the goal. We have to make them global citizen. So that's so that they can understand what is happening on other part of the country, and what are the disparities, what are the discrimination, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. Everything they should know. So that is why policy is putting a lot of emphasis on this inclusive education. And the policy has recommended, if we can make our children conscious of their duties, particularly fundamental duties, and if we can prepare them as a good human being, good citizen, good human being, and as a global citizen, then definitely we are going to bring about a change in our society. Internationally, if you see that we are talking about goal for sustainable goal, that equitable, inclusive education, and also there is one, the goal 5 on gender equality. Internationally, we are putting a lot of emphasis on this gender equity, and our policy also focuses on this inclusive education. So that means from policy perspective, there is no issue. That means a lot of, from the beginning, after independence, you see all the committees, all the commissions, even all the policies, all are putting a lot of emphasis on gender equity. So that this is not something new. But the only thing is that how to achieve this, that is most important. Because when we are talking of gender equity, that means because we know it is socially constructed, and a family is responsible, our school is responsible, and our textbook is responsible, our community is responsible, and media is responsible. We all are responsible. If we all will be conscious, then definitely there will be change, and that gender stereotype will not be there, and there will be no discrimination, and we can achieve the goal. Then the question is how to achieve this, or what we have to do so that we can bring about a change in our society, and we can create awareness, or we can create consciousness about this gender equity. That is most important. And from that perspective, if you see the policy, what it has been recommended, that if you go through the chapter 4 of the policy, that about the curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment, that what we are talking, that means we are going to have a different type of curriculum, and we are going to have different pedagogy and different assessment. That is most important, because ultimately school is going to play very significant role, because in India we all know our joint family system is going to vanish, and the response family, what earlier family was doing, that role also school has to play. That the responsibility of family is being shifted to school. So school is going to play a very significant role in the growth and development of our children, and they are going to give a good. They are going to help our children in their holistic development, in the all-round development. That is why we have to put a lot of emphasis what is happening in our school, that particularly the curriculum, what type of curriculum we are going to introduce, and how this curriculum is being transacted, and how the skills and competencies are going to be assessed. That is the most important from the point of view of gender equity, because we all know that our focus was that our children should acquire mastery over the content. That is the focus, we all know, because we expect our children should know what is there in the textbook, and focus is on cognitive development. But now, when if you see the policy, we are talking about holistic development. Focus is being shifted from cognitive to affective and other areas of personalities, because we need good human being, we need good citizen, we need global citizen. That will not be possible if we all the time put emphasis on cognitive development. We have to shift our focus from cognitive to affective, because all are equally important. all the domains of the personality are equally important, and they should get that due weightage. That is most important. From that point of view, development. When we are talking about the holistic development and affective development, affective domain is coming under this, and our feeling for others and our concern for others, that is going to be reflected, and that is going to play a very significant role. That is why, along with cognitive, if we take care of the affective domain in our school, in the school environment, that means how we can help our children to develop fellow feeling, belongingness, respect for each other, and how they will show respect to elders, and that means socially they will be more conscious. By doing that, by strengthening the affective domain, we can really help them to be conscious of their duty and responsibility. What has been reflected in NAP 2020, particularly the fundamental duties. If really we want to develop the fundamental duties, then we have to put emphasis on cognitive affective domain, and by conducting various activities. That is why we now in curriculum, we say curriculum, that means load will be less and there will be more activities. Children will get more opportunity to participate in different type of activities. They will get time to collaborate, to share their experiences with others. They will work in group, because we want to promote cooperation, not competition. Because by doing that, what we can do, we can develop fellow feeling, belongingness, and we can develop respect for others, and we can help, we can make them very strong. Particularly, we can develop their self-confidence, self-esteem. That is important. So that is why I think when we'll conduct such type of activities in our classroom, particularly we are going to develop a new curriculum, because curriculum framework in the process, that for the fundamental foundation stage it is released, but for other stage we are going to have 4 national curriculum framework this time: one for school education, one for teacher education, one for adult education, and one for this foundational literature, that early stage, early childhood care and education. One is released and other 3 are in the process. This curriculum frameworks are ready, and when we will be developing the textbooks, then we will find different type of textbook. And it has been recommended that content load will be less, and less content, more activities, and focus is on development of skills and competencies, because that is more important, because we have to see this gender from a holistic perspective, not in isolation. That is why we have to develop the skills and competencies among the children when they are coming to the school. We have to see that they should not only acquire mastery over the content, what is there in the textbook, rather they should develop the basic skills and competencies what is required in 21st century. All the time we are talking about this 21st century learning skills. That means we should develop the creativity, we should develop critical thinking, we should develop communication skills, we should develop their collaboration, cooperation. All these we are talking about. And since this is the need of the hour, if we see gender from a holistic perspective, first in our classroom, we have to develop these 21st century learning skills, so that they can think critically, they can know what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad. They themselves will feel for this by conducting different activities, by creating different learning situation, and we can really bring about change in our school environment and school curriculum. So that it is in the curriculum. When you say curriculum, it is not only the syllabus or the textbook, what has been prescribed. Many things are there, or that is why we say hidden curriculum. So that means that type of environment we have to create in our school, so that we can see gender from a holistic perspective. That is most important, and that is why we are going to have a different type of curriculum. It is mostly going to be competency based. We are focusing on development of skills and competencies. Second part that is most important is the pedagogy. And in our classroom, when we are going to use this pedagogy, that means now it is mostly teacher centered. Though we develop this national framework in 2005, focus has been shifted from content mastery to competency mastery. We want to develop the competency. We want to strengthen the classroom process. But still, our focus, our approach is traditional. And you'll find in most of the cases, focus is on product, not on process. That is, our system is more product oriented. So that now we have to make it process oriented. That is why we are talking about experiential learning, art integrated learning, sport integrated learning, and then we are talking story-based and spelling-based pedagogy. So all these we are talking about vocational education, because when we are talking about the gender, because we have to take care of that aspect also, because from the lot of heterogeneity. That means when we're talking of gender, that means when girl students coming from high socioeconomic status, low socioeconomic status, and that the caste is also playing a very significant role. And particularly SC, ST children, they're facing a lot of problem, not only within their caste system, but as compared to the upper caste, and as compared to the highly socioeconomic status. That means a lot of disparity there, a lot of heterogeneity there when we're talking about gender. So we have to accept that reality, and accordingly we have to provide, we have to redesign our class, so that when children are coming to the class, we should create an environment in such a way that they should develop their self-esteem, they should develop their self-confidence, and they should feel for that feeling that is most important. That is the work that is totally neglected in our school, because all the time we put emphasis how our children will secure good mark in exam, but how they will be good citizen of this country, how they will be good human being, how they will be conscious of their rights and their duties, particularly their duties and responsibilities. That is not our concern. As a teacher, we feel our job is to cover the syllabus, what is there in the syllabus. But as a teacher, it is our moral responsibility. We should know what we can do so that our children will become good human being. If we can make them good human being, then this gender equality, the equity we can achieve automatically, because that is most important. We need good human being. That is the need of our. So that is why we now, what policy has recommended from pedagogical point of view, we have to take care of that. We are talking of experiential learning and other art integrated learning. By integrating art, culture, we can attract the children. There will be no dropout. Mostly when we're talking of the gender, you see, when the children are going to from upper primary, after upper primary, that means the dropout rate is very high. And how can we keep them in our school? Many factors are responsible. But one of the factors that they should be highly motivated, and they should find learning more enjoyable, more joyful. And we can do that by integrating art, by integrating that, making it art integrated. When we say art, it includes drama, it includes theater, it includes music, it includes dance, it includes visual arts. Because by doing that, what we can do, not only we can make our classroom more enjoyable, we can preserve our culture, and we can preserve our art and culture, that means the particularly folk dance, etc. So what by doing that, what we are going to do, we are going to create a different type of environment, so that children who are dropping out the school, they will not drop out. Once they feel motivated, they find learning meaningful and enjoyable, then they will not leave the school. That is why we have to bring about change in the teaching learning process. That is the pedagogical aspect. And the most important thing I would like to highlight, that means what we are doing all these. We are going to develop very good curriculum and going to introduce pedagogy and taking the help of ICT, and everything will be possible. But the most important thing, if we are not going to bring about change in the process of assessment, nothing will happen. Because that is most important. That is why policy has put a lot of emphasis on this assessment. This is really, if we want change, really we want to develop gender sensitivity, then we have to bring about change in the process of assessment. If the policy is talking about holistic assessment, when we're talking about holistic assessment, we are going to take care of all the domains of the personality, not only the mark, because we are going to prepare a holistic progress card. And when we're talking about progress card, we all know that means progress card means it include the mark what our children have secured in different school subjects. But now we are talking about holistic progress card. It will not only take care of the mark what they have secured, it will take care of what they are doing, what they are performing, what they're exhibiting, what talent they have, and what ability they have, and what they can contribute. Everything will be reflected in the holistic progress card. By doing that, what actually we can achieve, we can make our children very strong. And when we are going to make this holistic progress card, gender sensibility will be one of the dimension, because how our children are sensible to gender, that means that will be one of the aspects, and along with the other things. Because when we are talking of values, it is very inclusive, and we cannot say gender sensibility in isolation. So that is why, because when we're talking of this tolerance, fellow feeling, belongingness, leadership, initiative, creativity, because all are interrelated. That is why what we are going to do, we are going to bring about change in the process of assessment by introducing a holistic progress card, which will take care of all dimensions of personality, not only cognitive, it will take care of affective and psychomotor, what they're performing, how they're participating, and all these, when we will make our assessment holistic, and when we'll bring about change in our pedagogical approach, bring about change in our curriculum will be competency based, focus will be on development of skills and competency, so that it will help us to achieve our goal. And another most important thing, particularly vocational education, because so far as gender is concerned, because if we can introduce it from class 6 onwards, then definitely it will bring about change. And because sometimes girls student leave school, they don't find it interesting, and they don't find it useful. Parents don't find it useful, and that is also another dimension. Because what policy are recommended, we are going to introduce this vocational education from class 6 onwards, and this is going to be an integral part of education. This is not going to be in isolation, because now in our system we have vocational education, that is separate stream, and we start from class 9 onwards. But we look down vocational education. In other countries, if you look at the Korea, they 96% of students are coming through vocational education, formal vocational education. But in India, it is around 5%. There's a wide gap. So that is also another dimension. If we can introduce vocational education from class 6 onwards, and make it compulsory for everybody, because what has been mentioned in the policy, before leaving the school, every child has to acquire mastery over at least one vocation. So by doing that, what we can do, we can really help our students to develop the skills, vocational skills, all boys and girls, because we now it is not gender issue, not is it the issue of girls or women, it is a people's issue. So that is why we have to take care of that their happiness. They should be happy, they should feel comfortable, and also they should be in a position to earn something in case they leave school. So from the beginning, if we think like that, then that will be change in our approach, and we can achieve our goal. I think I do not know how much time I have. If you permit, I can continue. Otherwise, I'll stop here because now other speakers are there. So just I want to conclude because this is what we are going to do. We are going to bring about a change in the school system, because school is responsible, because mostly now all families are shifting their responsibilities to school. School is going to take care of everything. And most important thing, what we have to do, we have to strengthen our government school, because of this globalization, many private schools are coming, and private schools are coming, that is good. And but those who are poor, those who are marginalized, those who are not that means those who are disadvantaged, mostly they are sending their children to government school. Now that is another dimension we have to see. So we have to strengthen our government school system. By strengthening government school system, really we can improve the quality of education, and that will be a significant contribution in achieving the gender equity. Because those who are rich, they are sending their children to private school. Those who are poor, they are sending their children to government school. If we cannot strengthen the condition of the government school, of course, now it is improving, no doubt about that. Yeah, and the policy has also recommended that. So by strengthening the government school system, we can really achieve the goal. So that is that I wanted to communicate, and I'm very thankful to you for giving me this opportunity. And really, this is a good webinar, because we are discussing something on gender equity, that is the need of power, and we are in 21st century, and there should not be any discrimination, disparity. We all are equal, and we should enjoy all the opportunity, whatever available, and we should get opportunity, particularly our girl children should get opportunity to develop their potentiality, what they have. And that is why we're talking of holistic development. By introducing this in our school system, we can, I hope we can achieve gender equality. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time and your mindful speech, sir. I would like to ask a few questions from you. This question is by one of our viewers, Dr. H. Merchant, and he's asking how to spread such awareness. Research can also be taken on this subject, but what about the implications?
Yes, very nice question. Because now time has come, we have to conduct research, because that is another dimension. Because why, we all know many research studies have been conducted, because why girls are not coming to school. If they are coming to school, why they are leaving the school, that means after elementary education, or after just primary education. So that we have to study practically, because then overall you will find many research studies are there, but we have to make it very specific, because it varies from community to community, from place to place, because the local context is different. So that we have to see, because in northeastern states situation is different, and when we are talking of equity, if you go to Meghalaya, you will find a different situation, and in other states it is different. So that is why, keeping in view the context, keeping in view the situation, keeping in view the environmental condition, and other situation, we have to find out the ways and means, the what we should do, so that our girl children will be benefited. So that from that point of view, we may conduct some case studies, some qualitative research, so that it will give us insight to implement our plan, our strategy, what we have prepared, and so that we can achieve the goal. I think that there is a need of conducting research, and it should be very specific in nature, keeping in view the local context. If you can do something, then definitely it will be more useful. Thank you.
Sir, as you said, parents play the most important role, and you talked about making the children conscious of their rights and powers. But when it comes to openly teaching children about good touch, bad touch, and actions they should resist, whether it is a boy or a girl, people don't know how to have these conversations. How can parents, without any hesitations, conversate about this with children?
No, actually, in India, we know our culture is different as compared to the Western country. We not only parents, in schools also, when teachers are teaching, suppose this something related to sexuality, etc. That means what is there, the biological aspect. So they also feel hesitant. But we have to come out of that. That everybody has recommended. We have to come out of that, and we have to create a very conducive learning environment. It may be directly, indirectly, but otherwise it will be difficult, because we have to discuss about this, and we have to take care of this in keeping in view our social demand, our social situation, because what is happening in Western countries, that is not possible in India. But keeping in view our culture, our context, if we can come out of this, then definitely it will be useful. So that we have to do. We have to think differently in an innovative way, and that we can do, because that is the need of power, and that is why when we're talking about these stages, foundational stages, preparatory stages, and this middle stage, secondary stage, that's for the recommendation of policy, and we have to follow different approach from the beginning, from the early stage. If we can make them free, that from this point of view, that means that they should understand each other. It is not about the biological thing. It is about understanding self, understanding their self-esteem, self-respect. So that aspect, because that is how we are going to put a lot of emphasis on this affective domain. And now we have to take care of this affective domain. Then I think we can overcome these issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. You have elaborated every aspect of educational perspective of how to bring gender equity in our society. And you also enlighten us about the NEP, National Education Policy, what the policy mentioned to bring the gender equality, and it's also included the third transgender to bring them in the limelight or in the center of the country, so that they also live a peaceful life and they live in sustenance with dignity and honor. You also covered all the pedagogical approach, the curriculum, what should be the quality of curriculum, what should be the role of teacher, so that we can bring the transformation in this perspective. And definitely we will be enriched and trying to bring all those ideas that you have given us in our classroom, and to create the classroom environment and in our pedagogical approach, so that we can bring and help the children to be a good human being, and trying to make the country a Vasudev Kutumbakam, because we are the educational fraternity, and by our effort we can bring the holistic development of the country. Thank you so much, sir. The ideas, information and knowledge shared by you have really very appreciable and definitely add on to our existing knowledge. And you also quenched the queries generated by the viewers very deeply, and I think they will clear the idea. I'm really thankful to you as you accepted our invitation and ponder on us the immense knowledge. Thank you so much, sir, from on behalf of entire team, the CESCO and Sandipani Academy and Columbia College. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to give a brief information about our second keynote speaker, that is Mr. Tanmay Kumar Ghosh. Tanmay sir has been currently working in the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Vadodara as an assistant professor of history in the Faculty of Law. He is currently pursuing PhD in the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Vadodara in the Department of History. His expertise is in the field of modern history, and he has many published papers in the field of geopolitics and Indian politics. He has been to different international conferences, and now I would like to invite Tanmay sir for his talk.
Thank you, Ojas. First of all, सबको मेरा नमस्कार. I am honored and thankful at the same time to Chhattisgarh Educational, Social and Cultural Organization, Sandipani Academy, and Columbia College, Chhattisgarh, for giving me an opportunity. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
For giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts alongside such distinguished scholars and experts of the field. Ojas, who is my young friend as well as student, actually one day came to meet me and talked about one of his friends who faced some issues regarding gender. And he said, sir, this is motivating me to organize a seminar regarding this. So one thing first I want to do is I really want to congratulate parents of Ojas for successfully inculcating such values which makes him empathetic toward others. Now, there are around 6 aims of this webinar, out of which I will be trying to touch 2 or 3. The first is to develop gender consciousness among people. Second is to develop feeling of respect towards genders. And slightly I will be touching parenting. Now, first I will try to focus a bit on some definitions and some little bit of theories, because I can see when I was going through, somebody told me in the YouTube that there are many students who have joined. So I will be just touching certain definitions, and then I will try to share some of my experiences. Now, when I talk about gender consciousness, now the simple definition of gender consciousness, one of the very famous social psychologists, Patricia Gurin, she supports as a perception of gender roles combined with political roles that allows women to legitimize themselves. Now, in simpler terms, if I have to say, gender consciousness enables people to realize that injustice exists and that some action is needed to eliminate those injustices. Now, she also identifies certain dimensions of group consciousness from the social movement theory. Many of us might be aware of that from the social movement theory, which are particularly useful in analyzing gender consciousness. Now, one of the most important components is a collective orientation toward the desirability of change in the status of women. Second, we may say that discontent. For example, women as individuals have to compare themselves to members of other groups and then become collectively discontented. Now, these are certain processes, because we need to understand that Patricia Gurin was a social psychologist. So there are certain steps to gender consciousness which a woman should go. Then the third, she talks about legitimacy of disparities. Now, members have to undergo an erosion of faith in the traditional justifications given to them regarding their disparities. For example, let me talk about the social conditioning which a woman goes through. Now, they have to unwind those so that they become conscious about the gender. Now, that social conditioning might be due to some caste beliefs, might be due to some religious beliefs, that can be anything, but they have to unwind that. And the final she talks about is the recognition of shared values. Now, when members share a strong sense of identity, mobilization is more easily achieved. So we always talk about brotherhood, in normal circumstances, we talk about brotherhood. So here, there is a need and there is a strong sense of sisterhood which is needed. Sisterhood. That's most important. That women have to think collectively, otherwise it will be difficult. Now, when we talk about Indian women, let's talk about Indian women. Now, generally ऐसा देखा जाता है that majority of Indian women are not gender consciousness. आज भी अगर आप grassroots level पे देखें, we generally see that थोड़ा problematic वहां पे है gender consciousness को लेके. अब वो क्यों है? तो क्लास एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डिटर्मिनेंट फैक्टर होता है. सो हाउ इट इज अ डिटर्मिनेंट फैक्टर? बिकॉज क्लास इन द सोशियो इकोनॉमिक स्टेटस ऑफ वुमेन एंड वुमेन्स लाइव्स कंटिन्यू टू बी डोमिनेटेड बाय देयर क्लास इन द सोसाइटी, बिकॉज ड्यू टू द वास्ट डिस्क्रिपेंसीज इन क्लास एंड कास्ट which form the basis of identity, women from one class or caste might be discontented with regards to women of another caste or class. This is one factor. And another thing which might be a factor is the rural-urban dichotomy. Now, this plays a very important role, which clearly divides the movement. Third thing, there are various cultural influences to which Indian women are subjected that create problems for gender consciousness to exist. So these can be three reasons. There can be other reasons also, but these can be three reasons due to which we can say that gender consciousness is a little bit difficult or problematic in Indian society. That's one of the. There can be other theories also. Let me be very frank. There can be other factors also. Now, when we talk about, because I have been a teacher in school, fortunately, and now I am in a higher education, teacher in higher education institution. So my experiences will mainly come from the classroom experiences, the classroom. So when we talk about gender consciousness or gender sensitivity inside the classroom, the first thing we need to, as teachers or educators, we first need to keep this thing in our mind and be very strong about this, that we educators need to take initiatives. Because when for the first time I started teaching, let me share this experience. For the first time when I started teaching in a school, during when I was pursuing my B.Ed. So I was really excited to implement what I was studying in the classes regarding especially gender inclusiveness. So when I was talking to some of my fellow teachers regarding these activities and gender inclusiveness, kaise kiya jaye and all, mainly most of them came up with a very normal or a so-called very standard answer. Arey bhaiya, syllabus complete nahi hota, uska time nahi milta. You are asking for this also. But the thing we need to understand is we don't always need to conduct separate activities for this, for raising gender sensitivity. It's a part of the process. It's a part of the curriculum. Otherwise, if you really do these kind of extra activities just for raising gender sensitivity, the students may get overconscious, and that will have different kind of consequences. In fact, aisa mera manna hai that it should be so subtle that this should smoothly get into their value system and thus reflect in the behavior. This is what I believe. Now, during when I was teaching in the school, there were certain things which I used to do, and I'm sure most of the teachers are doing it. For example, I used to deliberately assign such tasks opposite to the popular perception of gender roles. For example, boys को ही बुला के आप decoration करने दे दो. जो decoration का काम होता है, generally बहुत जगह पे देखा जाता है कि girls को दिया जाता है. Give it to the boys. Physical activity जिसमें required है, या फिर technology, computer जिसमें required है, give it to the girls. ऐसे करने से एक दिन में change जरूर नहीं होगा. See, social changes takes time. मैं हमेशा ये कहता हूं कि पॉलिटिकल चेंजेस, इकोनॉमिक चेंजेस वो बहुत जल्दी हो सकता है. सोशल चेंजेस में टाइम लगता है. सो धीरे धीरे बच्चों में, स्टूडेंट्स में इस जेंडर रोल्स को लेके जो उनके दिमाग में परसेप्शन है, अगर गलत परसेप्शन है, वो दूर हो जाएगा. सेकेंड थिंग, इफ यू आर क्रिएटिंग ए ग्रुप फॉर सम असाइनमेंट और समथिंग, you create a mixed group of boys and girls. One thing which is very important is teachers, especially teachers, they should use gender sensitive language. क्योंकि बहुत बार unconsciously, subconsciously हम ऐसे कुछ terms use कर देते हैं जिसके वजह से जो है, see, students are very observant. वो आपके minute details को भी एकदम ध्यान से देख लेते हैं, right? So we should be avoiding exclusionary terms and nouns that refer to only men. For instance, हम बहुत बार बोलते हैं chairman या mankind या फिर businessman. तो ये चीजें अगर आप अवॉइड करके chairman की जगह chairperson कह दें, mankind की जगह humankind कह दें, businessman की जगह business person कह दें, तो that will help. बहुत बार ऐसा भी होता है कि we teachers, again, subconsciously, unconsciously, we need to be aware of this, that we refer to stereotypical characteristics. जैसे कि for example, we see a boy crying. बहुत बार हम जल्दी जल्दी में जाके ऐसे गलती से बोल देते कि अरे सी, उसको बुलाने के लिए कि शांत हो जा, boys don't cry. और दो गर्ल्स लड़ रहे हैं तो गर्ल्स डोंट फाइट. We need to be very aware of these kind of things before using. कि वो चीज जो है हो सकता है कि उस बच्चे के दिमाग में बैठ जाए. we need to refrain from using these kind of statements. Now, many children at times will come to you, okay, come to you in the school with preconceived ideas about gender. जैसे सोचिए कि पीटी का पीरियड है या फिर गेम्स का पीरियड है, फिजिकल एजुकेशन का पीरियड है, जहाँ पे शायद वो क्रिकेट खेल रहे हैं या फुटबॉल खेल रहे हैं, तो बहुत बार अब आप देखते हो कि कोई एक जो बच्चा है वो अलग से बैठा हुआ है और आप उसके पास जाके या फिर जो क्रिकेट खेल रहे हैं उनसे उनके पास जाके आप पूछते हो कि उसको क्यों नहीं खिला रहे हो. तो there have been such instances when I have got such replies that sir उसको ना खेलना नहीं आता. He plays like a girl. He stance when he takes the stance of cricket, he takes a stance like a girl. So that's the time when we need to intervene. Because if we don't intervene at that point of time, it will always stay with that boy or girl. One thing, I think this is a great opportunity that Professor Sandipani sir is here. I really want to thank him as well as congratulate him for gender sensitive NCERT social science textbooks, because I am from history. So I really genuinely thank him for making the textbooks very gender sensitive in NCERT. Especially when I talk about, for example, the political science textbook contains the cartoon pictures of both a boy and a girl who ask doubts that may come in the minds of students while studying. So I really thank him for making. Now, these are very small things, but this affects the minds of students. कि बुक में जो है पिक्चर दिया है, एक बॉय भी है, गर्ल भी है. पहले के जमाने में हमें पता होता था कि ऐसा नहीं होता था. So I really thank him for that. Now, if I shift from school education to higher education institutions, what we can do? Okay. Now, we try to make the classes interactive in higher education also. So, in higher education, in colleges and in universities, when especially when I used to teach history, history of gender studies, these kind of things. So one thing which I used to do, it's a very small thing, I'm sure again, many of us might be doing this. We used to make groups, give them certain situations, and used to tell them to come up with solutions. For example, if you let's give a situation to a student that if you see gender biasness in your house, probably among your parents or among your brothers and sisters, how will you deal with it? Now in school you cannot give because they are not that much mature to come up with real practical solutions. So another thing can be young adults face this problem of early marriage, pressure from the family or something else. Or we may talk about treatment of domestic health. So you give them the situation and they will come up with real practical problems which we may not even imagine as teachers. So it's very important to engage the students into problem solving related to gender. Now, Sandipani sir during his talk already talked about National Education Policy 2020 NEP. I think that's a great initiative and a great policy of setting up a gender inclusion fund, GIF, which mainly has been which is mainly aiming to provide quality education for all girls as well as transgender students. I think it's NEP 2020 is a great document which needs to be implemented properly, and I'm sure India is going towards that path. Very soon we will be seeing NEP implemented in all the corners of India. Very good thing about in NEP 2020 is that Rani Lakshmibai Atmaraksha Prashikshan, that is actually giving self-defense training to the girls. Then we have sanitary pad vending machines, free hostel facility, free uniforms, free books. So these kind of things will motivate the girl child and the family to really send them to schools, right? Different kind of scholarships which the government provides. These will really motivate them, even if they are in not a very stable financial condition. This will motivate them to send the daughters to the school. Now, the second aim This was the first aim. The second aim, which I will be looking into, is respect towards gender, developing respect towards gender. Now, here again, I want to share a story of my school days. So, when I was a student, so it was somewhere in sometime in class 7th or 8th I was in, when one day 2 lady teachers came to our class after the lunch break and took all the girls in a separate classroom. This I'm sharing actual real my story. So 2 lady teachers आई और सब girl students जो थे उनको एक separate classroom में लेके गए. Now when we boys ask teachers कि सर क्या हो रहा है या मैम क्या हो रहा है, उन्होंने कहा कि it is not for the boys, boys यहीं बैठेंगे अपने क्लास में. So what happens is boys immediately started to speculate कि क्या हो रहा है उस क्लास के अंदर. Over curious हो जाते थे. They talked about different assumptions. Some even made probably lame comments. Now, even when girls came out of that room, of that class, nobody said anything. Girls को शायद बोल दिया गया होगा कुछ बताना नहीं. Boys became more curious. No, that's the age where you are very curious, inquisitive. You want to know things कि क्या हो रहा है.
Tanmay sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, our chief guest has joined us.
Okay.
So before I interrupt you, I'm sorry for that.
No issue.
And I welcome you, sir, Dr. Kesri Lal Verma, sir, Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University. He is amongst us. And I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Chhattisgarh Educational, Social and Cultural Organization and Sandipani Academy and Columbia College. Kesri Lal Verma, Professor Dr. Kesri Lal Verma, sir. Namaskar, sir. I would like to invite Ojas to give a brief introduction of Professor Dr. Kesri Lal Verma, sir.
I would like to give a brief information about our chief guest, Professor K.L. Verma. Professor K.L. Verma is working on the post of Vice Chancellor of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Professor Verma was serving as Chairman, Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, Government of India, Ministry of Education. He had also been entrusted with the additional charge of Director, Central Hindi Directorate and Director of NCPSL, Government of India. He has a vast experience of working on varied educational and administrative posts. Professor Verma has extensive experience of working as member in different national level committees like Hindi Advisory Committee, Ministry of Mines and Ministry of Steel, Government of India, GIA Committee, CIIL, etc. He has worked as a member of different committee under Union Public Service Commission, Chhattisgarh Public Service Commission, Staff Selection Commission, National Council of Educational Research and Training, member of different selection committee of Central and State University. His major works in capacity of writer and an editor includes Karyalean Hindi, Chhattisgarh Ki Asmita, Linguistics and Literature. While working in the capacity of the Chairman, Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology and Director, Central Hindi Directorate, he has also got the work of publishing more than 36 publications completed as Chief Editor. He was served as author, co-author, editor, and co-editor of 9 books. He has been a member of Executive and Publication Committee of Linguistics Society of India over a long period of time. He has already been to Malaysia, Singapore, Bangkok, Uzbekistan, Turkey, Dubai, USA, Mauritius, etc. on diverse educational tours. Now, I would like to invite Professor K.L. Verma
हेलो सर, आपको कॉल किए सर आपको? अच्छा,
I would like to invite Mr. Tanmay Kumar Ghosh, sir, for continuing his session because our chief guest is facing some internet issue and technical problems so that he couldn't join. So please continue with your speech, sir. And I'm very sorry, sir, for interrupting you.
No,
And
no
if
issue.
he has joined,
No issue, no
sir,
issue.
please continue. Sir.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was talking about, yeah, I was sharing my story about this when I was in 7th and 8th class. So anyway, so the main problem with that is that when you don't tell the boys, okay?
Tanmay, sir,
Yes,
please,
yes.
he has joined again. So
Okay, okay. Ji.
sir, he is connecting to his audio. I think there is some internet issue. He couldn't join. He's trying to join, but he couldn't. Thank you, Ojas, for giving the introduction of Professor Keshri Lal Verma, sir, Vice Chancellor, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University, रायपुर छत्तीसगढ़ इंडिया. सर, आपको आमंत्रित करते हैं कि आप हमें अपना मार्गदर्शन प्रदान करें और हमें एनलाइटन करें इस इशू पर. प्लीज सर, प्रोफेसर के वर्मा सर.
मेरी आवाज आप तक पहुंच रही है?
जी सर, आ रही सर। जी सर,
जी सर,
प्रणाम
जी
सर।
ठीक है। चलिए
जी
प्रिय साथियों, मैं आज गुवाहाटी की तरफ और विशेष रूप से मैं ईटानगर गुवाहाटी और यात्रा में निकला हूँ। फिर भी मैं चाह रहा था कि यह एक महत्वपूर्ण इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार है जो कि कॉन्शसनेस क्रिएटिंग के लिए है, अबाउट जेंडर सेंसिटिविटी, इक्विटी नॉट इक्वलिटी। तो मुझे लगा कि इस महत्वपूर्ण कार्यक्रम में मैं किसी तरह सम्मिलित हो सकूं। हमारे बीच उपस्थित भी प्रोफेसर ऋषिकेश सेनापति जी, डॉक्टर तारिक रमदान जी, तन्मय कुमार घोष जी, अरुण कुमार दुबे जी, आभा दुबे जी। Actually, while gender equity is simply focused on providing men and women with the same equal opportunity, gender equity was to correct the historical wrong that have left women behind. Gender equality is vital to the realization of human rights for all, and the purpose of gender equality is to provide an environment where women and men enjoy the same opportunities, right, and obligation in all spheres of life. Gender, it is the process of being fair to women and men. To ensure fairness, strategies and measures must often be available to compensate for the women's historical and social disadvantages that prevent women and men from otherwise operating on a level playing field. Equity leads to equality. Gender equality requires equal enjoyment by women and men of social valued goods, opportunities, resources, and rewards. Where gender inequality exists in generally women who are excluded or disadvantaged in relation to decision making and access to economic and social resources. Therefore, a critical aspect of promoting gender equality is the empowerment of women, with a focus on identifying and redressing power imbalance and giving women more autonomy to manage their own lives. Latest global gender gap report shows improvement in scores of gender parity, but despite this, there are areas like education, health, sports, politics, etc., in which men and women are still not equally enabled. Gender parity in terms of access clarity visible, but actually there is a very much disturbance in here. But anyhow, but there are obstacles of health. We need to understand the difference between equality and provide extra support to women, rather than just offer them the same opportunity as men. And it starts with each of us recognizing and taking down the lingering barriers that prevent those opportunities from becoming a reality for many women. Gender equity is the process of being fair to women and men, but gender equality requires equal enjoyment by women and men to socially valuable. We are here discussing about the gender sensitization, which is the teaching of gender sensitivity and encouragement of behavior modification through raising awareness of gender equality concern. Gender sensitization refers to the raising sensitization of gender equality concern. It helps just one. It helps people in examining their personal attitude and beliefs and questioning the reality of both sexes. Gender equity means fairness of treatment for all genders according to their respective needs. It strives to bring all the genders to an equal playing field. But gender equity does not equate one gender in another. Instead, it attempts to facilitate equal opportunity for all genders to overcome their historical and social disadvantages by ensuring fairness and justice in contribution of resources to all genders. It recognizes the individual needs of each gender and addresses them in an intersectional manner, then can redress the vast imbalance created between the male-female binary. At a time when the idea of the gender binary is being challenged, equity is needed to ensure non-binary and queer voices
Hello,
are heard loud and clear.
hello.
Just I am completing my speech. It is very important to organize this type of seminars in our educational institutions to create a consciousness and awareness between the students and society also. And I congratulate the institutions which are involved in this international webinar. And I feel that this seminar will be grand success. And after this webinar, we will also do something about the consciousness, and it will help the students and our male-female teachers and employees also. चलिए मैं तो बहुत डिस्टरबेंस के बीच बैठा हूँ और मुझे बड़ा अजीब लग रहा है कि मैं किस रूप में बात कर रहा हूँ, कितनी बात पहुँच रही ये भी मैं समझ नहीं पा रहा हूँ, लेकिन ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण विषय है। मैं कई बार हमारे यहाँ पंडित रविशंकर शुक्ल विश्वविद्यालय में एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है महिला अध्ययन केंद्र, वुमेन स्टडी सेंटर, और ऐसी एक्टिविटीज को हम बढ़ावा देते रहते हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि हम सब मिलकर जो एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं इस बात को समझें। इक्विटी नॉट इक्वलिटी, ये जो आपने एक विषय रखा हो, सचमुच में हमें इस पर बहुत बारीकी से विचार करना होगा और ऐसा लगता है कि अब हमें बहुत कुछ लगातार करना होगा। ये तो एक इंटरनेशनल वेबिनार हो गया, हमारे विद्वान वक्तागण अपन इसमें बहुत सारे विचार रखेंगे। मैं सामने बैठता और कुछ और भी व्यवस्थित ढंग से होता तो कुछ और बातें कर सकता था, लेकिन आज मैं बहुत ही डिस्टरबेंस के बीच, क्योंकि मैंने हाँ कह दिया था और हालांकि मैंने बता भी दिया था कि मैं इस बीच दूर जा रहा हूँ, एयरपोर्ट में रहूँगा और इस बीच में गुवाहाटी को मेरे फ्लाइट का टाइम हो चुका है। पुनः डॉक्टर अरुण कुमार दुबे जी और इससे जुड़े हुए सभी हमारे संस्थाओं के प्रमुख को मैं बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं और अपनी शुभकामनाएं व्यक्त करता हूं। मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि इसमें ऑर्गेनाइज करने वाले में छत्तीसगढ़ एजुकेशनल सोसाइटी कल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, सेस्को था, संदीपनी एकेडमी अछोटी भाग रही है और कोलंबिया कॉलेज कारी भी इसमें सम्मिलित है। तो प्रिय साथियों, फिर हम मिलेंगे और जो आपने जो अभियान इस प्रकार से वैचारिक अभियान जिसे हम कहते हैं उसको छेड़ा, इसके लिए आप लोगों को बहुत बहुत बधाई और शुभकामनाएं। और मैं अच्छी तरह से नहीं जुड़ सका, इसलिए सॉरी, आप लोगों को थोड़ा डिस्टर्ब हुआ। तो धन्यवाद। आप नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार सर, थैंक यू सो मच सर। और आप इतने अपने व्यस्ततम समय निकाल कर हमसे जुड़े और हमें इनलाइटन किया, उसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से हमें इक्वालिटी और इक्विटी में डिफरेंस बताया है और हमें मोटिवेटेड किया है। ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ एंटायर टीम, I would like to express my heartiest gratitude and thankfulness to you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
धन्यवाद।
Now I invite again Tanmay Kumar Ghosh, sir, with sorry because we have interrupted you twice. So I'm very sorry, sir. Please continue with your session, sir. And I also welcome Professor Tariq Ramadan, sir. He is amongst us now. And he will conducting the third session of this webinar. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of the entire team. Sir, please, sir, continue.
Thank you, sir. I thank Professor Verma, sir, for sharing his thoughts. And yeah, so I would continue from there. So yeah, so that was the story I was telling about my 7th and 8th class experience. So the thing is, whenever we talk about sex education, for example, तो जब भी हम ये सेक्स एजुकेशन की बात करते हैं, पूरे इंडियन सोसाइटी में देयर इज अ हश हश एटीट्यूड कि नहीं 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 नहीं, इसके बारे में क्या बात करना है, क्या करना है। देयर इज अ हश हश एटीट्यूड, एंड इवन टुडे मेनी पेरेंट्स आर्ग्यू दैट गिविंग सेक्स एजुकेशन विल एंड द इनोसेंस ऑफ देयर चिल्ड्रन. But they need to understand that if the bodies are going through certain changes between the age of 10 and 14, it is important for them to know what's happening, why that's happening. Now, sex education has nothing to do with innocence. Now, innocence and being uninformed are two very different things. One can be innocent even in the age of 40 and 50 years. So these are two very different things. Anyway, they will come to know from some source or another in that age. And we don't want them to know it from some illegal, disturbing material in the internet, to be very frank. Now, and we also don't know what kind of repercussion of that will happen if they see some disturbing material. It may have a very long-term, deep effect on their minds. See, the thing is, the very basic thing about when we talk about respect, the very basic fundamental thing about being respectful to any other, it is fundamental to know that other first. हम किसी को इज्जत तब दे सकते हैं जब हम उनके बारे में अच्छे से जानते हैं। जिनके बारे में हम जानते ही नहीं हैं अच्छे से, हम उनको रेस्पेक्ट देना मुश्किल है। डिसरेस्पेक्ट तब हो आप कोई इंसान दूसरे को करता है जब उसको पता नहीं है, उसके बारे में आधा जानकारी है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मोस्ट ऑफ द रिलीजियस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स इन द वर्ल्ड हैपन ड्यू टू द लैक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट अदर रिलीजन। ये हॉस्टिलिटी जो मेनली है वो इसीलिए होती है, और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इसलिए मेनली होते हैं क्योंकि आपके पास उनके बारे में कम जानकारी और समझ भी कम है। सिमिलरली, disrespect towards gender would reduce if people know about the other genders. Now, for example, again, in my school days, there used to be one male friend of mine who was slightly feminine in nature. Now, उस जमाने में तो हमें यही लगता था. Now, some students used to make fun of him. There was a group of boys and girls, there were girls also, who used to pass nasty comments. Now, even at times, I, too, probably in the back of my mind, used to think, why he is behaving like that. He's a little different from us. Although I never had the courage to ask anyone, to be very frank. And I strongly feel, that's the reason I strongly feel the only way these kind of issues can be dealt with or can be eradicated is by educating the students. That's the only way. Now, when I talk about the role of parents, see, parenting is tough. It has been tough earlier also, but today, specifically if I talk about today, I think it is tough as well as far more complex. Now, on a lighter note, if I say कि आज से 20-30 साल पहले अगर या उसके भी पहले आज से 20-30 साल पहले अगर एक 7-8 साल का बच्चा अपने माँ बाप से पूछता था कि मैं पापा मम्मी मैं कहाँ से आया, मैं कैसे मेरा बर्थ हुआ, तो स्टैंडर्ड आंसर वाज कि आपको कोई परी छोड़ के गई है या फिर भगवान छोड़ के गए हैं हमारे पास। आज के जमाने में अगर आपने ये कह दिया तो 2 मिनट में गूगल सर्च हो जाएगा, क्योंकि मोबाइल है, इंटरनेट है, सब कुछ है, और फिर माँ बाप को, परियों को, भगवान को, बच्चे को, सबको परेशानी हो जाएगी। सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट एज ए पेरेंट यू ट्राई टू नो फ्रॉम द चाइल्ड, अगर इस तरह की परिस्थिति आती है, you try to know from the child that how much they know or how much they have searched for, because your answer will be depending on that. Anything here and there, more or less, they will again get conscious, overconscious in fact. See, many of today's parents or new parents had the opportunity to attend good schools, and it's now their time to educate their children properly, and that includes sex education too. Let's not make it a taboo, because there is too much exposure, burst of information. आपके हाथ में मोबाइल है, आप जो है अगर बच्चा परेशान कर रहा है या रो रहा है या कुछ हो रहा है, आप the normal thing is you have your mobile, आप बच्चे को पकड़वा देते हो कि ये लो मोबाइल लो और अपना गेम खेलो, जो करना है करो. So as soon as he or she is having that mobile in the hand, he is having world of information. And again, the reason you want to the parents needs to educate the children is because you don't want them to know from wrong sources. You want them to know about these kind of things from very authentic sources. Now, while you are talking to the child about these kind of things, it's very important to be aware of your body language as well as tone while speaking about gender issues. Because if you yourself is not comfortable about it, then there will be problems. Again, I will say here that children are very observant. Children observe even the minute details. And if they sense, they will start assuming things, they will overthink, they will probably not be, they themselves will not be probably comfortable talking about gender issues with you, right? So finally, when I see these kind of things, is that parents as well as educators, teachers, professors, everybody needs to take initiative to be properly guided and to guide them properly, the students. We educators and parents both need to be role models first for the students. Only then they will follow us and they will follow for good. Finally, before I end, I also want to talk about just one small thing, and it's mainly for the parents, I guess. There are many popular comedy shows these days, which the whole family watches. बहुत अच्छे TRPs आते हैं उनके, और ऐसे बहुत popular comedy shows हैं. I will not take names. I guess you will understand. Now, while watching that, the students also sit. Students as in the daughters or the son will also sit, and they enjoy a family time, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening, late evening. So you need to also be very careful while watching those comedy shows, that those comedy shows promote gender stereotyping and gender bias. If you really look into that, the whole comedy is based on gender stereotyping, if you really are careful about that. So parents need to be aware of these, as these will obstruct all activities of theirs towards promoting gender sensitivity. Lastly, before I finish, देखिए, एक नाव अगर है ना, अगर हम एक देश को एक नाव की तरह देखें, तो कहीं ना कहीं उसमें एक बैलेंस होना बहुत जरूरी है, जो बैलेंस आज नहीं है। हम जब देखते हैं कि यूएनडीपी का जो रिपोर्ट आता है जेंडर इनइक्वालिटी इंडेक्स में, या जेंडर गैप रिपोर्ट का जो वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक फोरम का जो रिपोर्ट आते हैं, तो देखते हैं कि इंडिया का जो रैंक है वो कहीं ना कहीं 122, 135, एक 150 कंट्रीज में से, तो हम काफी पीछे हैं। तो एक बैलेंस बनाना बहुत जरूरी है। अदरवाइज हम जिस पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, हम एक सुपर पावर बनने की कगार पे हैं, शायद हम 20-30 साल बाद हम उस पोजीशन पे पहुंच भी जाएंगे, लेकिन अगर आप 50% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन की तरफ इज्जत नहीं देंगे, तो मुझे लगता है काफी मुश्किल हो जाएगा उस मुकाम तक पहुंचने में। इस बात के साथ मैं अपना टॉक जो है समाप्त करूंगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir, for your time. Your ideas have the power to touch roots minds. Sir, a lot of teenagers who have never been taught about outside world relations and limits ends up getting in trouble by their own mistakes at some point. At these times, only parents are able to help, but us teenagers mostly skip sharing our issues out of fear and out of fear of judgment and punishment, etc. So how should one approach parents for help? One, they know that they have done the mistake, and it could be quite more than expected, but now they are in need of help.
Yes, yes. See, again, students are students. They are in an age where they are bound to make mistakes. Sometimes they might be doing some grave mistake which they are not aware of. उस एज में आपको अच्छे बुराई की उतनी समझ नहीं होती, तभी इतने मिस्टेक्स होते हैं। तो यहाँ पे रोल ऑफ पेरेंट्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। आपके घर में आपने एज ए पेरेंट किस तरह का माहौल बना के आपने रखा हुआ है। अगर आपने बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रिक्टनेस जरूरी है, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट, स्ट्रिक्टनेस जरूरी है, लेकिन आपने किस हद तक स्ट्रिक्टनेस रखा है? क्या जो आपका बेटा है या आपकी बेटी है, क्या वो आपके साथ, माँ बाप के साथ अच्छे से शेयर कर पा रहे हैं? क्या माहौल उस तरह का है? क्या एनवायरमेंट उस तरह का है? अगर उस तरह का एनवायरमेंट नहीं है, then it becomes very difficult for a teenager or adolescent to actually go to the parent and talk about it. और अगर वो नहीं करते हैं, तो ये मैं पेरेंट्स के लिए ही ज्यादा बता रहा हूं, अगर वो नहीं करते हैं तो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम आप ही को होने वाला है, बिकॉज एट द एंड वो आप ही का बच्चा है। हमें बहुत बार एज ए पेरेंट ऐसे लग सकता है कि नहीं स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं रहेंगे तो बच्चा जो है सीरियसली नहीं लेगा। ऐसे बहुत हमारे जमाने में बहुत ऐसे टीचर्स भी हुआ करते जो ऐसा सोचते कि अगर हम सीरियस नहीं रहेंगे तो हमें कोई सीरियसली नहीं लेगा। बट ऐसा नहीं है। अगर आप फ्रेंड के हिसाब से रहेंगे तो आपको ज्यादा चीजें पता चलेंगी, आपको उसके प्रॉब्लम्स पता चलेंगी, और एट द एंड एज टीचर हो या आप माँ बाप हो, एट द एंड आपका तो मेन चीज ये है कि आपका बच्चा जो है वो किसी भी प्रॉब्लम में उसको नहीं पड़ना चाहिए। और मैं अगर जो टीनेजर्स या फिर एडोलेसेंट्स अगर कोई सुन रहा है यहाँ पे, तो आप बेफिक्र होके, ज्यादा से ज्यादा क्या होने वाला है, डांट पड़ने वाली है, राइट? तो आप जो है बेफिक्र होके बोल दीजिए, चाहे खुद के कान बंद करके बोल दीजिए, लेकिन बोल दीजिए। उससे क्या है, आपकी प्रॉब्लम तो सॉल्व हो जाएगी। आई थिंक दिस आंसर्स द क्वेश्चन।
Right, sir. Sir, as you said, it is obvious for the children to be curious at this age, and in a lot of situations, curiosity turns into offensive jokes and statements. What could be done at home, or like mostly at home and little bit at educational institutes, to make them understand the sensitivity of the area?
Okay. See, what I have generally experienced and what I have generally seen, even as a student, as a teacher these days, कि इस तरह के जो ऑफेंसिव जोक्स हैं, ये ज्यादातर आप दोस्तों के साथ करते हैं, और आपको बहुत बार तो आपको पता नहीं होता कि ऑफेंसिव है। तो यहाँ पे मेनली मैं हमेशा मुझे टीचर्स और पेरेंट्स जो है शायद आज बहुत बुरा भला कहने वाले हैं कि हमेशा आप जो है पेरेंट्स को और टीचर्स को ही बुरा बोल रहे हो, बच्चों को तो बुरा ही नहीं बोल रहे हो जो गड़बड़ कर रहे हैं एक्चुअल में। बट सी, वो इसीलिए तो बच्चे हैं, या इसीलिए तो वो एडोलेसेंट्स हैं या यंग एडल्ट्स हैं। आई एम श्योर किसी ना किसी ने, जो आज हम शायद मैं 30-31 साल का हूं और जो यहाँ पे जो सीनियर्स यहाँ पे है, अपने जमाने में किसी ना किसी तरीके का मिस्टेक किया होगा। हाँ, आज का मिस्टेक जो है शायद वो ज्यादा ग्रेव इसलिए लग रहा है क्योंकि मैं हमेशा बार बार ये कह रहा हूं, आज के जमाने में जो वो मोबाइल है ना, जो डिवाइस है, वो बहुत खतरनाक चीज है। बहुत अच्छी चीज भी है लेकिन खतरनाक भी इस हिसाब से है दैट यू गेट ह्यूज इंफॉर्मेशन एंड ए child's mind or a adolescent's mind, it's impossible to filter the things कि कौन सा मुझे लेना है, कौन सा मुझे नहीं लेना है. So again, if it's happening in a school or probably in a college, it's the responsibility of the teachers. और घर पे भी अगर है तो पेरेंट्स, कि अगर उन्हें किसी भी तरह का इस तरह का लग रहा है कि बहुत बार होता है बच्चे जो है फ्लो में कुछ ऐसी बात कर जाते हैं पेरेंट्स के सामने और हम शायद जानबूझ के थोड़ा नोटिस नहीं करते, पेरेंट्स भी नहीं नोटिस करते, टीचर्स भी नोटिस नहीं करते, ठीक है बोल दिया तो बोल दिया, ओके, ऐसे बहुत बार अब्यूजिव लैंग्वेज भी होता है. बट देन दैट्स द टाइम व्हेन यू टू इंटरवीन. अगर हम इंटरवीन नहीं कर रहे हैं तो फिर आगे जाके हम कंप्लेन नहीं कर सकते कि सोसाइटी नहीं बदल रही है. सोसाइटी बदलना है तो आपसे ही शुरुआत करनी पड़ेगी. बाहर से किसी से आप एक्सपेक्ट करोगे कि कोई करके देगा तो वो तो नहीं होने वाला.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू.
I extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Tanmay, sir, for being our keynote speaker, and the deliverance of your knowledge and coverage of topic is really praiseworthy. And our participants definitely well enriched with the knowledge you shared. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and contributing a lot in this sensitive webinar. You have elaborated each and every topic you touched, like gender consciousness, the way of parenting, so that we can restore the complete personality of the children and transform them into a good human being and good individuals. Thank you so much, sir. And again, I express my apology because we have interrupted you twice, and the flow of your speech will interrupt it. I'm very sorry for that, sir.
No.
And on
It's
behalf
my honor.
of,
It's my honor to share my thoughts with such distinguished masters of the field.
thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Tanmay sir.
Now we are about to start our third session, and our keynote speaker of third session, Dr. Tariq Ramadan, is amongst us. I welcome you, sir, on behalf of CESCO, Sandipani Academy, and Columbia College. I would like to brief the introduction of Tariq Ramadan, sir. Dr. Professor Tariq Ramadan is Emeritus Professor at Oxford University, United Kingdom. His research interests include the issue of Islamic legislation, politics, ethics, Sufism, and the Islamic contemporary challenges in both the Muslim majority countries in the West. He is active at both academic and grassroots levels, lecturing extensively throughout the world on theology, ethics, social justice, and interfaith, as well as intercultural dialogue. He authored several books on Islam's and the Essentials of Islam series, The Arab Awakening, and Developing a Philosophy of Pluralism, and What I Believe. He also write on Islamic ethics. So we have a very profound and veteran educationist amongst us. So I welcome you, sir, again, and I invite you for your talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your invitation. Are you hearing me well? Is it all fine on your side? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. You're clear,
Okay,
sir.
great. Thank you so much again for your invitation. I really want to thank Dr. Achhoti for being in touch and organizing this webinar on such a critical topic, and to help us to tackle issues that we need to tackle in our current society, be it in India or around the world, because these are challenges that we are facing in all our societies, within all our cultures and spiritual and religious realities. And what we just heard from Mr. Kumar Ghosh is something which is essential when it comes to, okay, we need to deal with education and we need to be serious about it and to be courageous, because there is a difference between promoting modesty and avoid critical questions when it comes to education. Yes, modesty is essential in all our spiritualities and all our cultures, but modesty doesn't mean to keep a blind eye on the reality our youth are facing through social networks and so on and so forth. So my talk, it's really trying to focus on the title and some of the notions that you set in the title when it comes to consciousness and when it comes to gender sensitization, and how do we deal and promote a deep understanding of equality and equity in our society. And as you will see, I think that what we need to get is, in fact, this topic takes courage if we really want to be serious and not only to talk about some very nice and very beautiful principles, not dealing with the reality of our societies and our cultures and our spiritual communities. So what I want to do is to start with a short introduction, highlighting 3 points, and then to come to describing, or at least to deal with the state of affairs, because I really think that we need to go through this in order to be able to reform our realities and respecting realities in our society. As I said, in wherever we are, and in Asian societies, in the West, or even in African societies, and I think that we have common challenges here when it comes to these realities. So if we come to the introduction, 3 main points. I think that when it comes to creating consciousness, consciousness starts with acknowledging facts and truth. If we look at the situation now at different levels, and what we heard from Professor Verma before, and then when he was just talking, and then Mr. Ghosh is really dealing with some of the issues when it comes to, are we dealing with equality? What about opportunities? What about the reality within our societies? What about intersectionality? And what about education when it comes to gender? So to acknowledge facts and truth, and to say it bluntly as it is, there is a deep spiritual and social gender issue and numerous discriminations at different levels today. And this, to start with, should be acknowledged. And what we should understand at the same time, it's complex. These are not only facts. Okay, we deal with, the salary or the patriarchal society. When it comes to patriarchy, when it comes to the reality of our educational systems and what we are providing our students with, we understand that it's complex and systemic. Complex means that the factors are interrelated and interdependent. And systemic means that if we want to tackle one issue, we need to have a holistic understanding of the whole issue. If we don't do this, we are going to just reform one thing without understanding that it's connected to other things. So there is a relationship, for example, between gender, social status, cultural minorities, religious teachings. These are things that are connected. So we need to be courageous when it comes to the problem, and competent when it comes to the complexity of the very problem we are dealing with. So this is the first point. The second is what I think, if we want to be serious about this, we need to do two things concomitantly. Concomitantly, we need to identify the problems, so the state of affairs, but at the same time, what we need is to set our goals. What do we want to achieve? Do we want to achieve something which is in the name of gender equality and equity, something which has to do with confrontation, with creating new poles of confrontation? Or do we need to set something which is to ask a very simple question? What is wrong in the light of what we want to achieve? What is wrong today and what do we want to achieve? So we need to get, because we might not agree on the goals. So we speak about discriminations, we speak about, the systemic inequality, but what do you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve for women to take power? Do you want to achieve something which is peaceful and mutual understanding? So if it's peaceful and mutual understanding, it means that the goal is to set a balance, is not only to deal with power struggle, not being clear about what we want to achieve, because in many, I from within my tradition, I am considered as a feminist, but I also have to acknowledge that in some feminist discourses, we are not clear about what do we want. For some of the feminists, it's as if what they want is a society without men. So look, that's the problem. So consciousness is we need to set the goal here and to ask ourselves what is wrong with us in the light of what we want to achieve. So I would put this as an introduction into something which is ultimately what we want is both for women and men to feel at peace with their being, and this is something which is essentially is what I'm going to say, and the very biological nature, because we have to take this into account. And what I heard right now from Kumar Ghosh, I think it's essential. If we are talking about being at peace with your biological nature, knowing what is going on in the world and the pressure of the social media and what is now free on internet, pornography, and what is said about men and women, you can't just avoid dealing with this, saying, oh, you will get your own education. No, your own education for the time being, it's to be badly and ill-educated, in fact, when it comes to these issues. So we need to balance this wrong education or not systematic and not well thought education with something which is our education. What are the goals that we want to provide our students, our kids, even and our students with? So I think that to feel at peace with their being and their very biological nature, at the same time complementary when it comes to biology, complementary to men as to their biological status, but equal with men as to their legal status. So saying that we are complementary biologically because this is the way it is when it comes to found or to create a family in a family space, doesn't mean that complementary on the biological side means only complementary in the social reality. Here we are also talking about equality as to the legal status. So altogether, it means that we are trying to merge something which is equity as to biology, equality as to the social status, and try to get a deep understanding of what it means. So having said this and getting a sense of, okay, what do we want to achieve? And if we want to achieve this, now let us come to, okay, in the light of what we want to achieve, what is the state of affairs? What are we dealing with now within our society? And as I said here, we need to deal with you know, it's not a simple issue. It's deep because it has roots in history, because the patriarchal system is it's a long process. It's something which is transgenerational, and that we are very often thinking that what we do is right because our fathers and mothers were doing it. And it might be that it's not really right the way it was done. Plus, knowing that our societies are changing, it might be completely wrong because it's not matching the realities of our time or the challenges of our time. So we are dealing with a complex reality, and we need to deal with a moving and complex patriarchal system, and at the same time, we need to avoid only addressing static facts, and we need to get a comprehensive approach here. Now, what is, and this is also something which is important, and I will come to even the organizing reality of this webinar, is what is now the missing discourse in our society. When it starts with consciousness, and when it goes, yeah, there are discrimination. If men are starting to talk about women, the first reality or the first understanding they are going to have when it comes to women is about their roles in society. As a man, I cannot speak as a woman. So as a man, dealing with this issue means that I'm going to talk about the role and the function of women within the society. But there is here in our society a missing discourse, which is not women as to their role within the society, but women as to their being within the society. So a woman being able, or a discourse coming from women being able to talk about who they are, and not only, and what they want to achieve as to their being, but not only their social role. So in our society, in our cultures, even in our spiritualities, even in our religions, the male discourse is focusing on the women's role. What we need now is something which is completely different. Before talking about my role within the society, I need a discourse about my being before being a woman within a society. What does it mean here? It means that, for example, when it comes to my being as a woman biologically, and this is important, when it comes, for example, to sexual education, it's not only about speaking about the role of men and women when it comes to sexuality. It means also to say, okay, as a woman, do I have a need here, which is something which is essential? By talking about my need biologically, sexually, socially, and who I am as a human being, how do we want? How do am I going to fulfill my being, and to feel well, to feel balanced, to be self-respected and respected within the society? I need to have a discourse on being before the role within the society. And I'm sorry, the only way to get this, it's for women to talk. It's for women to talk for themselves. It's for women to be able to take the lead on this. Of course, not against men, not without men, but with women. And that's, for example, the point that we have even in this webinar. We are still many men talking about women and equality. It's important for women to take also the lead here, and to be able to say, okay, look, that's all fine. We need to talk about social issues. We need to talk about problems. But first, we need to talk about what do we mean by self-respected and respected woman, fulfilled, blooming as to her being in our society. It's only when we start with this that it would be possible in our society to go ahead and to be able to achieve something which is, okay, today, when it comes to equality, before being socially equal, we have to be spiritually at peace, biologically at peace. And that's also something that we find. In fact, if we are deep with our respecting traditions, spiritual and religious traditions and cultural tradition, you will find something like this. But the problem is that it's always men talking about this. So they reduce the scope of being to social role, as if the social role is determining anything that has to do with the personal and the deep spiritual reality and biological reality. I think that this is a mistake. This is the missing discourse that we have. And the only people, the only actors that could do this for all of us within our society is women talking for women, and women talking to men about women, and not men talking about women in their role or as to their role in society, because we are missing something here. And as a Muslim, I can tell you, I studied Buddhism and Hinduism and Judaism and Christianity. We have the same problem. Second problem, which is exactly what I just heard from Mr. Koch when it came to the reality of what is wrong with what we are doing when it comes to what we want to achieve, is education. Education is critical. And education is to be able to say, okay, to be educated, education is not only to let you know what you should be, but to start with who you are and what you can achieve within your society. So it means that to be courageous enough to look at the reality around you, to be equipped to be what, in fact? 4 things. First, independent. Independent intellectually and personally. It means that you are not dependent on someone else or another reality to be who you are. Second, social status, and to get a social status. And social status is the consequence of an educational process within our society. Third, financial autonomy. Financial autonomy, it's essential as well. And in the patriarchal system, very often, we have this kind of financial dependency, meaning that at the end, you don't get your social status. And I think that this is why it's critical, even in the West, I have been living my life in the West, and I hear all what is said about, discriminations in southern countries. And I'm still, yesterday they were saying that at 9:50 in the morning, it's as if, as to the salary, women were not get paid until the end of the year because there is a discrimination in the salary. Meaning that we have a problem with, equality when it comes with same competence between men and women. In the West, that's the reality of it. Yesterday, meaning the 4th of November at 9:00 a.m. until the 31st of December, it's as if women were not paid for the same work, the same job, and the same competence. So meaning almost 2 months. Not paid, so meaning 60% of difference between the salary. So the financial independence. And now the 4th thing that I was mentioning is responsibility, social, family, social, and public responsibility for women. So within the family and outside the family, within society. This is what we want to achieve with education. Education means that we need to get this to equip women and men all together. And that's something that if you look at what we are doing, it's as if we are not adapted, or we are not adapting our educational content and substance to the reality of our world, and not equipping or giving or providing women with what should be done. And once again, it's not enough to speak about equal rights or equal opportunities if we don't look at the situation and tackle the issues of what is the psychological, cultural climate within a society to deal with independence, and as I said, intellectual, social, financial, and responsible being within the society. Now, the third point when it comes to the state of affairs is which type of equality are we talking about? And that's also something which we are dealing with confusion today, because you are talking about something in what you are saying right now is in the way we deal with this issue is to say, okay, you know what, at the end of the day, it's all about education. It's all about promoting equality in our society. What we are witnessing today in some Western societies, not only to deal with equality, but is also to address the notion of gender. It's as if gender are or gender is a constructed reality. At the end, there is no man and no women, no male and no female. These are constructed realities. And here we really are touching something which is quite difficult and serious when it comes to this reality, because this is not what we are we have learned or we are taught within our religious and spiritual, meaning to acknowledge the fact that there are males and females, and there is something which is gender, and this is not a constructed reality. This is biological truth, and meaning that we have to deal with this without, in the name of this truth, accepting discrimination is something else. Then in the name of equality, in the name of we confuse equality with identity or being identical. And I think that this is something that we need to tackle, but because if in India or in Africa or in Asian countries or in the global South, we don't come with a clear understanding of these challenges, we are going to follow in the footsteps of the West and saying, okay, you know what, at the end of the day, male and female are not realities. These are constructed patriarchal notions that we have to tackle. So you are not a woman. You don't say she. You don't say he. You say something else. So it's going very far, in the name of what now, in the name of what was the right struggle at the beginning, we end up being completely confused about what we want to achieve. So as I said, equal rights doesn't mean identical being, and this is the starting point of everything. And we have to be clear, because we can start a discussion with some, people promoting equality, and we end up understanding that we don't want to achieve the same thing. So to try to erase the latter, meaning the identical, the difference in being, in the name of equal rights is counterproductive, because at the end of the day, it's not going to help us to achieve anything. Now, to do the opposite, meaning to avoid talking about equality in the name of complementarity between biological beings, it's also counterproductive. And this is also something that we this is the traditional discourse we have in our spiritual traditions and religious traditions, saying, oh, you know what, we are not identical, we are complementary. And in the name of this, we accept discriminations. That's not acceptable, and it's very counterproductive. And complementary, the master and the slave are complementary, because there is no slave without master and no master without slave. They are complementary, but still there is a power relationship that is not acceptable when it comes to gender. So we need to be very cautious with the notion of complementarity in the way we are dealing with it, in the name, in the light of what we want to achieve, which is equality here. So we need to tackle and to address the two approaches at the same time, and to promote the two approaches at the same time. It's equal rights, acknowledging biological differences in our educational process, in our social dynamics, in our reality economy, and as I said, the four main points that then, and being able to say, yes, we promote biological complementarity without justifying social discrimination, meaning that this is what we want to achieve. And we have to set it quite clear. Listen to me, I'm telling you, talking to you from the West, what we see today, it's even in the name of equal rights, there are no biological difference. This is just to be avoided, and so it's even deconstructing the very reality of biology in the way you deal with, and we have to be quite clear, that's not what we want to achieve, while we want to achieve equal rights. And so this is something which is which type of equality, and we have to set it quite clear by promoting the consciousness, and as you were putting it in your title, which is the gender sensitization here, it's based on this, and promoting equality and equity, it's dealing with social issues and biological reality. And this is why also what we should add to this, and this was also mentioned by Professor Verma right now, it's to be quite clear on intersectionality, because this is a critical issue. Yes, there are cumulative factors when you are dealing with a woman where their being is missing in the discourse because their voice is not, or their voices are not heard. Second, there is something which is, if you are a woman, plus you are poor, plus you are from a minority culture, plus, or color, plus you are dealing with cumulative discriminations. And then you have to deal with this and say, okay, look, how do we have to deal with this when it comes to this reality? So at different levels within our educational systems, it's important first to be able for our young male and female to get a deep understanding and promoting what was said right now, promoting the reality of what do we say when we speak about biological peaceful development. Biological peaceful development, it's essential here. Second is, how do we deal with the social challenges that we are facing in our society? So that's this intersectionality, it's also important. And then two last points as to the state of affairs is we should dare talking and speaking about power. This power relationship, it's important. And as I said, competence, because what we have now in the great majority of the educational systems around the world is that we see that women are achieving much better than men. Meaning that there is here something which is competence, is going to be the leading force within our societies, is going to come also from women. So if we want to avoid this gender struggle, but promote a more balanced approach, it's also to deal with power, to deal with competence, to deal with what I said, unequal salaries, and who should speak, because to speak, power, it's about learning, power, it's about education, it's about power, speaking, it's about power. Who is educated and who is speaking is also a discussion. And as was said by Professor Verma right now, it's also something that we have to deal with. It's not only to speak about equal rights, it's also to promote a kind of affirmative action for women to find a place within the society. So it's to promote their status, to promote more, and to be very aware and to promote this consciousness that we need to promote much more women in different responsibilities or positions within our society, meaning within academia, meaning without social organizations and politics as well. We need these voices to be heard, to be able to speak about what male or what men cannot do because they are not women and they are not dealing with the reality. But as I said, it's not men against women and women against men, it's together. While if we say together, it means together. I am not going to talk as a man in the name of woman and saying at the same time, so we need to do it together, because at the end, we are not together. And last point, which could be a bit disturbing, but this is the reality. And I can tell you that you are dealing with it in India, and we are dealing with it around the world. We urgently need a contemporary discourse on masculinity, because there is a crisis of masculinity today. Our old, milestones and principles are shattered. We men are facing a deep crisis. In the family, what is called today the absent father. It's as if, we are not committed to education. We are not really educated or we are facing a crisis when it comes to our role. About authority, yesterday in our traditional settings, authority was something which was perceived in the patriarchal societies as coming from male. But there is a crisis here when it comes to unemployment, with money, with the role within the family. Look at what is happening in the West. The role of male to be a man today, it's not easy. So it's true that women are facing discriminations. But I'm telling you, men are facing a crisis, and a deep one. And if we are not tackling this, if we are not serious about it, and we avoid talking about it, I think it's not going to help. So my conclusion here is, if we set the goals and say, you know what, at the end, what we are talking about is a balanced well-being, biologically, sexually, as it was said right now, professionally, spiritually, we need to come to a comprehensive approach and not simplifying the challenges that we are facing. And by doing this, we need at the same time to deal with the issue, but to look at the society and the state of affairs and the environment. You can't get the right answers if your answers are not adapted to the contemporary issues and crises we are dealing with. And very often we don't do this. We come with theoretical answers, but disconnected, completely disconnected. As it was said, our kids, when they reach 12, 14, they are much more ahead from what we understand with what they are getting from the social medias and the information and misinformation and bad information they get. So we have to deal with this reality. And once again, this is the way forward if we want to build together, together, meaning being courageous enough to deal with the issues, to share power, and to be able to deal with things that are not easy to say. As much as we are dealing with discriminations towards women, let's be frank, male are facing a deep crisis because their role today, their status today is challenged by a reality that no one can define, but we all fear there is something dangerous going on there. Dangerous, because we don't know where we are heading. That's it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I tackled the issue and this is helping the discussion.
Thank you for your informative speech, sir. I want to ask this, as in a lot of regions, one of the major ways of protecting children from any kind of abuse is to put restrictions, which do work to protect. But on other hand, it also kills the opportunities to explore for the children. How can, in this new era, we can protect children with important restrictions, but also give them some freedom to explore?
That's a good question, because it has to do with balancing our education. This very old discussion, what is at the center of education? Providing our students with principles, or should they be at the center of the educational process? And my answer is both. We need at the same time to set limits, because there is no education without rules and limits. Because it's through limits that you can get a deep understanding of what it means to be free and to be able to take decisions. So we need limits. And this kind of new kind of modern education saying, you know what, let us follow what they feel, and confusing freedom and feeling. I'm sorry, freedom is not feeling. And you can be trapped and imprisoned in your feelings if you don't master your feelings, because the true freedom is know your feeling and master your feelings to be able to decide for yourself what you want to do with them. Because if you are dominated by your feelings and desires, you are not free. So education is about this. I know that the world around you, it's just providing you now with resources and images and movies that are telling you this is the way to be free. And in fact, it's not. It's driving you through your emotions and desires and drivings towards something which is dominating you. So what we need to do within the educational system is to look at the world and to provide our students with a critical mind, a critical thinking. You have to make your choice. And you have to make your choice. And me as your teacher, me as your father, me as your mother, I have to provide you with the right limits to help you to take the right decision. Then if I give you the instruments of your choice, it's your choice. And then this is where starts your freedom. But if I ignore the reality, I put you in a trap, because ignorance is the first biggest prison in our society today. So to ignore the reality of our society is to educate our kids and our students to be prisoners of the current system, playing with our drive and playing with. So this is the balanced approach between limits and freedom.
Thank you, sir. There's this question raised by a viewer of ours, by Miss Priyanka Bissa. She's asking, sir, in your opinion, what could be that one action we all can practice to eradicate gender disparity in general and in research fields?
One action? This is what she was asking. One action?
She said, in your opinion, what could be that one action we all can practice to eradicate gender disparity and in general and in research fields?
I think that, as I said, if there is one action, I think that once again, I would decide the action in the light of our goals. And then if there is something that we want to achieve in research or within our societies, or within our fields, or within our families, is really to come with what I said, what do we want to achieve? And first is to reconsider the content of what we provide our student with in the light of what we want to achieve today. And as I said, there is something which has to do the starting point. And this is something which is not easy, but this is the starting point. Respect yourself and start with yourself. Who are you? What do you want to achieve? What is living a fulfilled, self-respected and blooming life, dealing with who you are? And I think that this is something which is important. We need research starting with this. In fact, pointing out the reality of respective crises that we find among women and among men in our society. And I would say that the starting point will be this: you can't reform a system if you don't get or identify the weaknesses or the imbalance reality on this. So I would say that if we want to promote something, it's really to start with this. And there is another field of research here, is really the contradictions that we find in our spiritualities, in our cultures, in our religions, between the very ideals that we are promoting and the realities that we are neglecting. You can't achieve ideals if you neglect reality. That's not going to work. This is something which is misleading and counterproductive.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Women are facing discrimination while men are in deep crisis. This is the words of Professor Tariq Ramadan, sir. But we have to create the environment where both every living being sustenance with peace and with pride. Together we deal with this issue and understand our being first. Then we define our role as a male and female. We live peacefully and with grandeur by identifying our identities and eliminating all type of discrimination against any kind of gender, including male, female, and transgender. You also eliminated the role of education, the role of community, and the role of individual towards creating gender consciousness and achieving the equality and equity in terms of gender consciousness. With this line, I, Dr. Abha Dubey, invite Dr. Sandhya Pujari ma'am, HOD Sandipani Academy, for delivering vote of thanks to our eminent guest.
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। अत्यंत हर्ष का विषय है कि हमारे संस्थान में एक दिवसीय ऑनलाइन अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार कार्यक्रम रखा गया है और आप सभी की उपस्थिति हमारे लिए गरिमापूर्ण है एवं मां सरस्वती जी के सानिध्य में यह प्रोग्राम रखा गया है। लैंगिक संवेदीकरण के बारे में जागरूकता पैदा करने और समानता नहीं समानता पर कार्यक्रम शिक्षा विभाग द्वारा आयोजित, जिसका मात्र लक्ष्य है लैंगिक समानता के मुद्दों का समाधान करना और प्रतिभागियों को समाधान खोजने के लिए प्रोत्साहित करना। आज के इस कार्यक्रम में पधारे हमारे मुख्य अतिथि माननीय डॉक्टर के.एल. वर्मा, कुलपति पंडित रविशंकर शुक्ल विश्वविद्यालय रायपुर छत्तीसगढ़, मुख्य वक्ता प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर ऋषिकेश सेनापति, पूर्व निदेशक CERT नई दिल्ली, और मुख्य वक्ता श्री तनुमय कुमार, सहायक प्राध्यापक विधि संकाय महाराजा शाहजी बड़ौदा विश्वविद्यालय, एवं मुख्य वक्ता प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर तारिक रमादान, प्रोफेसर ऑक्सफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी से उपलब्ध हुए हैं। मैं संस्था की ओर से हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ। हमारे संस्था के संचालक महोदय माननीय महेंद्र चौधरी जी, प्रशासनिक अधिकारी आदरणीय विनीत चौधरी जी, सलाहकार डॉक्टर आभा दुबे एवं कोलंबिया कॉलेज के संचालक महोदय माननीय किशोर जाजवानी सर, सचिव आदरणीय हरजीत सिंह होरा और प्रिंसिपल सर माननीय अरुण दुबे सर, एवं देश विदेश से हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए सभी श्रोतागण, सभी शिक्षक एवं विद्यार्थियों, स्टाफ के सदस्य, टेक्निकल स्टाफ और आयोजन टीम, आप सभी ने अपने जीवन के अमूल्य पलों में से कुछ पल निकालकर इस कार्यक्रम को सफल बनाया। इसके लिए मैं आप सभी को साधुवाद देती हूँ। हमारे मुख्य अतिथि और मुख्य वक्ताओं ने संवेदीकरण को एक जागरूकता सूचित प्रवृत्ति या स्वभाव के रूप में करता है, जिसका उद्देश्य व्यवहार को बदलना है ताकि यह कुछ मुद्दों के प्रति संवेदनशील हो। जेंडर संवेदीकरण को जागरूकता सूचित प्रवृत्ति के रूप में ऐसे तरीके से व्यवहार करने के रूप में देखा जा सकता है जो लैंगिक न्याय और लैंगिक समानता के मुद्दे के प्रति संवेदनशील है। जेंडर सेंसिटाइजेशन थ्योरी का दावा है कि बच्चों के प्रति शिक्षकों और माता पिता के व्यवहार में संशोधन जो लैंगिक समानता पर एक कारक प्रभाव डाल सकती है। इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से हम सबको आशा ही नहीं पूर्ण विश्वास है कि भविष्य में भी इसी प्रकार मार्गदर्शन और सहयोग मिलता रहेगा। इतना कहकर मैं अपने वाणी को विराम देती हूँ। एक बार फिर से मैं सभी विभूतियों को हृदय से धन्यवाद देती हूँ। धन्यवाद।
I request all of you to please switch on your video so that we can capture the moment online. I can request all the participants that you have joined us here. While capturing this moment, I would like to thanks again our today's chief guest, Professor Keshri Lal Verma, sir, who has been with us in a very difficult situation and honored and motivated us by his wisdom, thought, and knowledge. I again express my deep gratitude towards Professor Rishikesh Senapati, sir. His speech or his knowledge that he shared with us is very commendable. And I think he delivered the knowledge on that sensitive issue on in a very educative mode and for the fraternity of education. I again extend my sincere thanks to Mr. Tanmay for being our keynote speaker, and he touched all the issues: gender consciousness, respect towards other gender, and the role of parenting in a very practical way. I again must commend the participation of our keynote speaker, Professor Tariq Ramadan, sir, for sharing with us his valuable thoughts and ideas on this topic. I convey my deep regard and thanks on behalf of India by this platform and expect your support in the future for organizing such type of educational program. Thank you so much, sir. At the end, I express immense gratitude to each and every participants from India and from abroad. From your participation, that will make our program a huge success on behalf of CESCO, Sandipani Academy, and Columbia College. As well as I extend my deep thanks to our technical partner, Mr. Harsh. Because of him, we successfully conducting this program via online. I also thanks Mr. Ojas Dubey and Mr. Dhawal. Because of their ideas, we initiated this program, which I have mentioned in my introductory speech. I also thanks the entire team of Sandipani Academy, the entire team of Columbia College, and the entire team of CESCO for making this program a huge success. Thank you so much. This is the end of the program, and feedback link will be shared. I think feedback link already shared on YouTube live chat, and also we'll share this in your WhatsApp group. So please fill the feedback form and we'll send you the e-certificate of participation. Thank you so much, sir. Jai Bharat, Jai Chhattisgarh. Jai Hind.
I would request everyone to switch on your cameras, please. Ma'am, sir, please switch on your cameras.
सभी participants जिन्होंने इसमें ज्वाइन किया है, प्लीज अपने कैमरे ऑन कर लीजिए. सांदीपनी कॉलेज के सभी लोग और कोलंबिया कॉलेज के सभी लोग प्लीज अपना कैमरा ऑन करें.
हर्ष, कुछ प्रॉब्लम है शायद, आप कंटिन्यू करो, सेशन एंड करते हैं.
हर्ष, क्लिपिंग ले लो. प्रोफेसर तारिक सर, I will send you the pics of this webinar on your WhatsApp, and thank you so much for being with us. I think at your place this is morning time, and I continuously disturbing you for joining the webinar. Thank you so much, sir, for this is your gratefulness. Okay, Harsh, please end this webinar.